Yes. Hi, Joni.
Hello, Kristina.
We're here because we're here because we're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Isn't this fun?
I love being on the radio. Am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
I can blab.
I know. Radio's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. And you can be in your pajamas. Not that we are, but...
Well, we could be.
No one knows.
Yeah.
Or cares.
Yeah. So we're doing a kind of wonderful experiment here today on 11th Hour Radio, which is that I am meeting my guest, Joni Cole, for the first time on the air right now.
So, that is an experiment.
Yeah. It was set up by our friend Kendra, who some of you who have listened to the show are very familiar with Kendra. She comes on and is part of the radio team. So since Emily is still teaching children to dance this week, Joni agreed to come in. So welcome, Joni.
Thank you. Thank you, Kendra, for setting this up if you're out there listening.
I know. She's so cool. She's such a cool person.
We're going to dedicate the show to Kendra.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. Well, since we're meeting for the first time, I made a list of a few beginning questions for you, okay? Because I figured, we might be a little nervous or something, so we could start with something super, super easy.
Okay.
Okay, the first question I have is, what did you have for breakfast?
Oh, my gosh. About 7 cups of coffee.
Nice.
Yes.
That really got you ready for the show, didn't it?
Yeah. I just learned this cool thing. If you want to get a little deeper when you're writing something and want to know your character more, you can, of course, put on the page, what did they have for breakfast? But the more interesting thing, or additionally interesting, is what did they wish they had for breakfast?
Oh.
I thought that was the coolest little, teaser to get out some insight about people.
That is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I can tell you what I wished I had for breakfast, which was lox and bagel with capers and red onion and tons of cream cheese.
And that might be hard to find in Vermont. I don't know. Could you have gotten that?
Well, I don't have any problem finding it, but I was at this writing retreat once in line in the buffet, and there was a lot of New Yorkers there, and it was a beautiful buffet, and it was in the Northeast Kingdom, actually, and the woman behind me from New York City, I overheard her say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they have bagels in Vermont."
I love that.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we could find it.
Well, they don't have bagels in Chelsea.
Yeah, well, I'm in the thriving metropolis of White River, so...
You are so spoiled. Yeah. I don't even know if I can get bread right now in Chelsea. I know I can get half and half.
Well, that's a start.
That's
right?
a start.
Yeah.
I can get Cabot cheese. You can get Cabot cheese in just about every general store in Vermont.
Well, what else do you need, right?
I suppose that's Emily would say that. Emily's all about cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about it like probably 30% of our show is about cheese.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I have that much to say about
Yeah, well,
cheese.
we could skip cheese pretty. Actually, I did have a cheese story. I had a little bit of a cheese story because yesterday I was landscaping, which is my other profession, and I was down in Windsor, and I was working on a property that's right downtown, and there's a beautiful old rose garden that we're renovating. And we were actually digging up some of these old roses, which go back, nobody can quite remember, how old the roses are. That's how old they are. But anyway, so the neighbor, she's part of the library plant sale. And so I had promised her some of these roses. So I dug them all up and we took them over to her house in a wheelbarrow. And then she said, hold on for a sec. I'm just going to run inside. She said, do you like cheese? And so she took out of her fridge this huge round of Jasper Hill,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, totally special kind of cheese. And she gave it to me. And not only did she give it to me, but she gave me a cold pack so I could,
oh wow,
I wouldn't go bad or anything.
See, that's Vermonters for you.
Yeah, that was my cheese story. So we traded roses for cheese yesterday.
Pretty fair exchange.
Yeah.
That's a lovely story. Speaks to the spirit of people, Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Well, okay, so we got past what did you have for breakfast.
Yeah.
And so actually you kind of didn't have breakfast, you had coffee.
A lot.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. No, I love coffee. I had 2 cups of coffee, so that was good.
It's one of my food groups.
Yeah. I know. It really should.
I love it.
I think that's probably common for writers.
Yeah.
To like coffee.
I just like it.
Yeah.
It's like this legal drug that gives you some pep and no calories and
yeah.
So
totally.
Anyway, I'm pushing the coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I like that. Okay. Question number 2. It's going to get a little harder as we go along. Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you like exercise?
Oh, yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, I can actually say that I do.
What do you do?
All right. Well, with the exception of the last 4 months, which really is an exception, I'm a jogger, big-time jogger. In fact, driving here down Route 14, I used to live on Route 14 for about 15 years. And everybody who drove that route would say, "Oh, you're that lady that runs all the time."
Wow.
I love running next to the river, and I go to the gym. I make myself go to the gym. So
Okay.
So yeah, no, I do like to exercise because as a writer, one of the things I love about running is I swear I get my best ideas. I'm not as uptight when I'm running, and I can actually break through on some ideas and creativity. So
yeah, and there's something about being outdoors. I think the fact that your exercise includes being outside.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, for me, that's all what it is. Like because I do landscaping, and that's pretty much brings me a lot of exercise and fresh air. So that's how I balance out all my desk work.
Yeah.
Which being a recording engineer and a writer and all that, I sit a lot. And I try, I don't know if you do this when you're sitting. Like if you find yourself sitting for hours, do you sometimes kind of try to sit in your chair different ways? Like stretch, like the other day I got down on my knees, sort of, just barely touching my chair.
That's an alternative way to sit. I probably should do it more. I mean, sometimes I catch myself and I'm all hunched over, sort of like I have a drawstring garbage bag around my neck or something, especially when the writing is tense. Yeah. My boyfriend pointed this out one time, I look sort of all hunched. But no, I'd say if it wasn't for making myself exercise, which I actually do like, I don't get any other physical, I don't like to garden. I don't, so if I didn't go out and run, I swear I would just be glued to a chair. So
yeah, because we love being glued to our chairs when we're being creative. Like, why not? It doesn't really matter what you were glued to.
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody commented to me the other day. I was talking about in this hiatus from exercise, which has really been rare for me, but I'm getting sore and more tired, and you'd think it'd be the opposite, but and I was under deadline, which was part of the reason, but. She said that actually writing, you wouldn't think about it, is a form of physical exercise. And I do think in the way you hold your body, maybe one of those isometric exercises. You're not doing it purposely or necessarily productively, but you certainly are expending energy to hold your body either in a good way or a bad way. And so it gave me pause a little bit to
Yeah,
think about that.
I think that's interesting because somebody said to me yesterday very casually, they said, "Oh, well, sitting is the new smoking." And I was like, I took that home with me and I really refute that. I mean, it can be. I guess slouching and watching television maybe and eating potato chips is the new smoking, but I don't think just sitting in a chair is the new smoking.
It's a great line. I think it'd be even better if it actually made sense, but it's a fun line. But I don't quite make that analogy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny.
I don't know.
It does remind us though to mix it up a little, move a little bit.
Yeah, just move. Like lay down on the floor and pick your leg up. I mean, I don't feel like you have to do a whole regimen, or for some people that's good. People who like structure might like to go to yoga class, but I find that if I just do funny things all day,
right.
it's fine. It makes my body feel good. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll keep going down my list. It's a pretty short list.
That's
it's not going to go
fun. You
forever.
Have a list.
Yeah, well, I always have to write something down because my tendency when the red light goes on, as they say, is just for my mind to go blank. So if I didn't have something written on a piece of paper, I would say nothing. I would be mute. But anyway, okay, so number 4 I have here. It says, I often say that my guitar saved my life. I also think that writing saved my life. Now, you are a writer, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So did writing save your life?
Wow. I like that terrain. I think it's fulfilled my life. I wouldn't put it in terms of saving my life, which I'm not putting down at all. I believe that when we see that a lot with writers and creative artists across genres it is life-saving. It is the one expression that will help them to confront, mental illness or a sense of anomie or a sense of displacement or loss. So it does save lives. But I think for me, it's made my life really fulfilled.
Yeah.
I get to say what I want to say and shape it and craft it in a way that means and communicates. And so not expressive writing as much, but the kind of writing I do where I want it to take a form, fit a genre, and end up in a book ultimately has absolutely made me feel great.
Yeah, so it sounds like a vocation would be a good word for it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we find our true vocation, then we feel very fulfilled by it by definition.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. And it's not at all to say it's not hard. It drives me insane. I mean, I can't believe I've written all these years. I teach writing. I have books out. It's so friggin' hard.
Well, that was my next question was, when you sit down to write, how do you start?
Right.
What is the absolute first thing that you do?
Yeah. Well, there's no just one thing. And actually, I've taught and written about how to engender a creative process where you write more and you write better, but more specifically, you're happier. And people rarely equate happiness with writing, but I say that we should. I say it has to be a factor. And what can we do to engender a process, a creative process where we, even when the writing is hard, feel a lot better about the process itself. So we access our ideas more. We can revise without being filled with terror. We can take it up to that level. And so, I mean, because the blank page is such a horror show for me, what I start with, in relation to your question, is the least ambitious thing I can do. And not anything, I'll comment on the lava lamp. In the studio because it caught my eye. And so anything that accesses just putting words on the page is plenty. Something that stirs my attention. So
I totally agree with that. Yeah. I think that's
Is it the same process for songwriting and the way you write?
Yeah, it's even could be applied to recording engineering. And one thing that I've learned to do lately, even though I've been doing recording for a long time, is that when I'm about to make a revision that has a feeling of significance to it, I do a save as on my computer. Oh, yeah. And I'm sure that's the same for writers now as when you're doing drafts. It's like, leave it the way it was, save it the way it was, now start to rip it apart with a new version. So you can always go back to the old version because, frankly, some days you just kind of head off on an exploration that takes you back to go instead of to the next chapter. Right. So,
well, it's great because then you have intact that draft, and it opens up this freedom to, cut ruthlessly just to see what it's like without that extra passage of description, or to add expansively, and so you're not screwing anything up because you still have your previous draft. But at the same time, I do think even in the revision process, which I think people misconstrue as, oh, just fix a couple commas and all. It is not. It is as a creative a process as the generative process.
Yes. And so I think with the dawn of word processing, it's really changed the way that writers can write. I mean, I frankly could not go back to using a pen on a paper. I really couldn't. I mean, some people can do that, but I just can't go back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you asked, how do you start? And I do feel like, I have a whole boatload list of do this, not that ways after 20 years of teaching that I know you're going to get in your way if you try it this way. It's going to work this way. But within that boatload of recommendations, you really need to figure out and pay attention to what serves your creative process. And some people, it is the pen and paper.
Yep.
And for me, and it sounds like for you, it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I know. I mean,
I can't even read my handwriting.
Right. I know. And just being able to move stuff around. I can't tell you how many times I moved sentences into different order. And I didn't think of it the first time. But when I go back through it, I go, oh, that last sentence I just wrote would be great as the second sentence. And it's just it's so easy and quick to do that. Your mind, you can keep up, you can keep up with your mind in a way, because your mind is able to move faster if your hand can move fast to move the sentence.
Oh, I think that's a perfect expression of that, because I know my typing almost keeps up when I'm finally in the flow with the flow.
Yeah.
And so if I had to wait for the writing, which I'm just not as good at, I'd lose most of the ideas.
Yeah.
So it's true. The adage might be a cliche, but writing is rewriting. And so to have that facility to move that second sentence first and suddenly see, oh my God, that's the lead. That's the way to engage readers from the start. Wow, thank goodness for the computer. For me, anyway. It sounds like for you.
Yeah, because I think things fall out of my head very haphazardly.
Yeah.
Which you could probably guess listening to this show. But that's great, because the computer is a tool for kind of gathering all the haphazardness, and then you can bring some I don't know. It's like you can embed it deeper if you get it organized.
Yeah. Well, I think, too, that haphazardness that you were just talking about, actually, that is such a beautiful, legitimate seed of the creative process. And so I feel like for a writer like you, and I feel like my creative process might mimic yours a little, we have to see that not as a negative or pejorative. This is the beginning of the creative process, because I see so many writers who discount that or say, oh, it should come out structured or organized, or I should know what I want to say and how to say it and what sentence should come first. And they don't write for decades.
Exactly. That's can be crippling.
Yeah. So it's exactly what you don't want to do in the creative process is dishonor whatever way those first blobs of thoughts, ideas, inspiration, observations land on the page. And it's very freeing when you realize that's not, just haphazard, or that's the nascent stage of the creative process. With that, you don't have a blank page.
Yeah.
And with that, you have a path to the second draft. And the third draft and the fourth.
I think sometimes people get into judging way too quickly.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? Because things come out in a jumble and you look at it and you go, oh, I'm confused. I'm a bad person because I'm confused. But the reality is you come back to that 2 days later and you go, man, that's really interesting that I was thinking that way. Now if I just tweak this a little bit and tweak that, I've got something that somebody else could actually read and comprehend.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who have beautiful ideas for whatever, a book or a thought and an essay, and but they don't know where to start. And so literally, I get people at my Writer Center who have not started for 10, 20 years because they didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
And so don't worry. You start anywhere. You figure out an order much later in the process, and it's a more organic process when you let the material just come out the way it comes out and then figure out the flow and the structure. So I don't want people to not write just because they think they have to have it all organized and structured at the beginning. It's one of the most general reasons I think people get in their own way. And so we got to overcome that.
Yeah, I agree. One of my kids, definitely, I saw him struggling with that as, in school.
Yeah.
And I just tried to get him to free up his head because he's very much a free thinker. But for some reason, he just had a belief that the sentence had to come out perfect.
Right.
That it wasn't legitimate,
Him and everybody else.
Yeah.
We have to unlearn that. So it's so important to unlearn that.
Yeah.
So
see the trains going by. Isn't
I
it cool?
know. I heard a cat earlier, and now the train.
Yeah, we get to enjoy all these ambient sounds that occur here, and then
multi-sensory show.
Yeah, and see, I can see it's just going by over there.
Oh,
it's
I can't
kind
see
of
because of the
exciting.
door, but yeah,
there it goes. And it's actually time for another song.
Awesome.
What I do is every 20 minutes I put a song on just to cleanse the palate.
Sounds
of
great.
the brain. All right, so let's see. What do I have? I have Soldier's Joy. And let's see. This is Patrick Ross. See if I can get it going. That was Patrick Ross playing the fiddle.
Was he ever?
Yeah, he was up at the studio last week, in fact, laying down some fiddle parts. And that was, as always, very enjoyable for me.
How fun is that?
Yeah,
Cool.
it's really fun. It's a really fun process because, he'll often come up with his own ideas, obviously. But if he gets stuck, I can say, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? And then he's so good, he can just pick up and run with my ideas as well.
Oh, my gosh. I love that creative collaboration.
Yeah, it's
feed off of each other.
Yeah, it's fun. So, often on this show, I just say completely random things. And here's something that's completely random. This morning, I suddenly got stricken with this panic that I could not remember the code to get into the studio, because there's a code that you press this thing to get a key to open it anyway. So I whipped out my cell phone and I looked up the director of the station, and I texted him to say, just having this blank in my brain. And so then I got in my car and I started driving, kind of waiting possibly for a return text, even though in Vermont, sometimes you're not going to get a cell signal. But then it slowly got this creeping sensation that I had texted his landline.
This story gets worse and worse.
I know, and I'm thinking, what happens to a text that goes to a landline? Where does it go? Does it go anywhere, or does it just sit on your cell phone and just are you talking to nobody basically when you do that?
Well, probably the FBI has a record of it.
I know
all the texts that erroneously went to landlines.
Yeah, I have this vision of the text going all the way up to the phone at the person's house and then stopping just short of it so that it can't ever reach. It can't make that last connection.
Oh, that's a sad image.
Yeah.
It's like those exits on the highway that you get off and there's nothing there. They're leftover exits. and so,
ooh, that's a good.
There's a couple
too.
on 89 or 91, and you get off. It looks like a legitimate exit, and I guess it's left over from.
Is it you mean like a rest area?
No. I mean, there's
an
nothing
exit?
there. They're like defunct
where?
exits.
Where is that?
I can't remember. There was one. It starts with an M. I can't remember it, but it's funny. It's literally an exit to nowhere, and it reminds me of
I want to go take that one.
Those poor landline texts that's probably where they all are, in one of those exits. It's just sitting there like, wait, we were supposed to.
Isn't there a play called No Exit?
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah, that must be what that's all about.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, but we're here, so you must have made contact one way or the other.
Well, then I realized that I had a kind of muscle memory, because you have to use this device with your thumbs, sort of like texting. And I thought, it's easy. It doesn't involve remembering numbers. It's a tactile pattern. And as soon as I was able to disengage from the idea that I had to remember numbers, I was fine.
Right.
I said, I know how to do this. And I don't know, I've never forgotten it before, so I don't know what got into me this morning, but...
I don't know, something Freudian maybe,
yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, thank goodness for muscle memory. Yeah, I use it all the time with my PIN number because I can never remember it. So.
Yeah, I have it memorized more as a visual pattern. If you see the square that is the numbers, that has the numbers in it, and I know dot, 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 dot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm making a gesture with my fingers.
Exactly.
That's why, because even if I forgot the numbers, I would still know what the visual pattern was. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's the little things in life that can slip us up.
Boy, isn't that true?
Yeah, all our passcodes and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh well. But I'm glad that you remembered, your fingertips remembered anyway.
Yeah, me too.
I guess we'd be out there doing the show outside the studio.
Yeah. So when Kendra was on the show, she introduced this concept for us that we should, on a weekly basis, do a personal growth Friday segment.
I'm in.
Okay, so
I could use some personal growth.
All right, this, I don't know if this really qualifies, but I'm going to try it anyway. Okay, this is about Facebook friends. Okay. Now, we all have Facebook friends that we can't remember how we ever ended up being friends with them, or we don't, frankly, know anything about them. They go by on my newsfeed all the time. I'm like, who who is Wayne Tobin? Just like, who is that? I have no idea. So,
is that a real person, or did you just make that name up?
I just made it up. Although I do have a few Waynes that I can't remember who they are.
You're going to get a message from Wayne Tobin now.
I know. I do know who Warren Bunn is. I do know Warren Bunn. But anyway, I noticed that I have this sort of continuing dysphoria around seeing these people go by, especially when there's a big event in their life. Like suppose they're getting married, or there's a death in the family, or they're having a baby. And it's a hugely important announcement, but I don't even know who they are. So the question is, like, do I like it? Do I comment? Do I leave a personal message? What do I do?
Well, I don't think you have to go the personal message route, but see, I love that. I love like weddings and gossip, and I'm so nosy. So I don't care if I know who they are or how I ended up being Facebook friends. I'll like anything that's fun. Oh, I love your dress,
Yeah.
or wow.
So you would make comments.
I don't know if I go so far as to make comments, but I certainly would like or whatever, and so I'm very non-discriminatory when it comes to my Facebook friends. I welcome all comers, and sometimes though I'll, not quite so many posts from somebody like me, touting their book or going on about, I don't know, some rant about their neighbor or whatever, but no, I'm just so nosy. I really like it.
So you don't get that sense of dysphoria.
No, and I'm not out for more sincerity or intimacy with Facebook friends. I'm just out for, I wonder what, all these people are doing. And I just love that.
And if you can put a little positive infusion into somebody's life, like,
yes,
because sometimes liking something can just put a little spark in somebody's day.
Yeah, I actually do it partly for that reason, not as a generosity, but because for one thing, I know how it feels. Somebody paid attention to some cool thing. It's just like a positive vibe out there,
right?
And it's not insincere when I like it or I'm a joke or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be more specific or accurate, like a lot of the people that I might have not seen since high school, so decades ago, I'll respond to them, and I just like that. Like, and I might not have even liked them then or barely remember them, but it's just, oh, I'm so happy your kid graduated or, did this or you did that. So I like putting it out there. Gosh knows we have to balance out the negative miasma that's, hovering nowadays.
That's a nice way to put it. The negative miasma that's hovering nowadays.
Oh, God. Yeah. Encroaching.
Oh, yeah.
So what the heck? The more likes, the better.
What the heck? I think I agree with you. But for some reason, it always gives me pause. I think because if I like it, I almost want to make a comment as well, like congratulations.
That's lovely. Yeah.
So I guess I err on the side of making a little more intimate contact than might be. Yeah,
I think that's kind of nice.
Realistic.
I mean, unless it's a time suck, and then of course it can cross a line and get ridiculous on your part.
Yeah,
if you feel obsessed with, making sure everyone knows that you paid attention to their whatever.
Yeah,
but I think the impulse is nothing but lovely, and I would love for more people to have an impulse like that to say, "Hey, good job," or "Wow, neat," or how would the world not be improved by that?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I guess the naysayers would say, well, it's not sincere or it doesn't, it's pointless.
Well, and I would so argue. I would love one day to get like all the naysayers and negativers and, because why isn't it sincere? I think anyone who pretends to confuse Facebook friends with our friends, it's ridiculous. A Facebook friend is its own entity.
Right.
We are sharing the superficialities of our lives, and why not, with a quick like, celebrate that? What's insincere about that?
I agree, and I think especially those of us who live in very rural areas, it's a kind of a city for us.
Oh, I like that analogy. It
yeah,
is,
because when I wake up and I flip my computer open to see what's going on Facebook, it's like walking into the commons. That's kind of, for me, it's a way of connecting with the world. But I live at the end of a dirt road, so how else am I going to do that?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen up here.
Yeah, and it is a community, and if it's not for you, then then don't go on it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a law, and so to look for trouble, and I get it that there's issues of privacy and all that. And, so that's a whole different conversation, but it really is one of those things that I think is kind of creating more of a global community. And I think could be wrong with that.
Yes, exactly. I think that people who don't want to do it for whatever reason sometimes resent those of us who are involved with it because they, there is that tendency to feel excluded. But I would just say we'll examine your reasons for not being involved with it. I mean, if you have good reasons, then, stand by them. You've got a good life without it. But if you're resentful somehow, then that needs to be looked at.
Yeah. And, granted, it's Facebook. So there is just the outer membrane of real connectivity in Facebook. But even that is a huge advancement because so many people are socially phobic. And so at least it's some connection via Facebook. And also I think the sense of isolation is partly what is causing a lot of problems in the world, that we feel so isolated or disconnected, either because we can't get out of the house or we have social anxiety or it takes effort to get off the couch on a Friday night, and anything that engenders a little bit more connectivity, even if it's on that superficial level of Facebook. Again, I just can't see it being a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I've just flashed on my mother, who I really tried for many years to get her onto Facebook because I felt like she would enjoy my posts. I thought it would make her feel more included in my life. But the fact was, and I couldn't understand it because she just kept acting really resentful towards Facebook. And I finally realized that she knew she couldn't master the technology. She was actually losing her memory slowly, and we didn't even know for a while. I think she hid that very, very effectively, but she just also lost her ability to master new technical things. And so she just resented the fact that she was kind of shut out of that world. So that's another case. I think it would have been great for her.
Yeah.
And I think it would be now, but it's an impossibility for her now.
Yeah. Well, just the connections that have been enhanced through Facebook, of seeing people's photo albums, or me keeping up with my nieces who I can't visit that regularly, but I know where all their kids are, who's playing baseball where. It's almost like you can be part of their daily life as if you lived in the same town.
Well, that's it, because we don't live in the same towns.
Right.
We often don't live in the same state with people in our family, which is, it's kind of sad, but that's just the way it is, I
think Facebook, like so many things, is an easy target to diss.
Right.
And again, if it's not for you, that's fine. But to diss something that clearly a lot of people across generations is into, I think you want to think twice about why you're knee-jerk dissing something.
Right. I'm sure, like, television got dissed in the beginning, I'm sure, by lots and lots of people, just thinking it was the stupidest thing ever. And, you could still say it's a stupid thing, but it's also this incredibly powerful tool. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's good to go out for a walk and put it all to the side, but to totally disengage from it every day is not probably a way to stay in, to feel like a part of today's world.
Yeah.
So.
Good point.
Anyway.
Thank you, Kendra, for helping me to have personal growth.
Yeah, we're growing.
Yeah.
As we speak, we're growing.
It does speak, though, to how we have to be so conscious of where are we spending our time. Is it making us feel better? Is it enriching our lives? And so we all get it that too much time on technology or on Facebook, there's diminishing returns. But, so it raises that neat question, too, is how are you using Facebook?
Well,
and when does it cross a line and not serve your life and your personal growth?
Exactly. I think what the choice that I've made is I pretty much don't watch movies or television, like drama, anymore.
Yeah.
And I use Facebook because I'm more interested in seeing what the real people in my life are up to.
Cool.
Yeah, because I just honestly don't feel like I have time for all of that. My kids will come home and they'll be, hey, want to watch a movie? And I'm just totally out of the habit of that because I have so many creative activities going on that I like going to Facebook as an alternative to just all the other things that I do. God, I can't believe it's time for another song. Before I forget, because it was on on my head just like half an hour ago the word plork. Have you heard of that?
No.
Plork. It's like a combination of play and work.
Oh, yeah.
So I just related that to,
Plork.
you were talking about writing and how to have it be a happy experience and not like this drudgery.
Right.
And I think the word plork for me kind of describes how I approach all my work as play.
That's a beautiful word manifestation of the concept I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.
Plork.
Plork, plork. All right, so the next track here is called, what do we have? Valley's Olive Blue. This is actually one of my tracks. Here we go.
It's a course in a hungry country with valleys olive blue. You can ride in the vale for hours, never rise to a view. Each is a weary traveler, each has trouble and strife. Each is a soul gone so low, lost to the meaning of life. Here's a toast to the men behind me. Here's a glass to the setting sun. To all who've cared for me roughly, till my feelings they were numb. You said that you loved me, why you took aim with your gun. I regret to announce my departure. Our parting now has come. Traveled, where the air has a shimmer and shine. Clouds are never cast over, tears run sweet like wine. Here I'll carry my burden, quickened by the sound of a bird crying out to the north wind, while the mountain streams come down.
Are we on the air? I'm hearing mystery music.
I'm hearing silence.
Well, we had to have one technical, faux pas per show. I mean, usually it's more than one. So anyway, all right, welcome back. Where was I going to go next? Oh, I just wanted to mention my meme of the week. I have this tendency after Kendra introduced that whole idea of personal growth once a week, I do other things once a week. So the meme of the week I thought you'd appreciate is my book smells better than your tablet. that went by today on Facebook. It was a picture of somebody sticking their nose into a nice book.
Yeah, that new book smell. It's as good as the new car smell.
Oh, it's such a good smell. I know.
Yeah. There is something so awesome and tactile and sensory about holding a new book. I mean, I'm clearly biased, but it's just cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that said, I read physical or real books, and I read Kindle books. So.
Yeah, they're all good. But I still have books that if I go pull them off the bookshelf and I open them up and I smell them, they take me back to a certain time period.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old paperbacks. Like I have all these science fiction paperbacks that take me back to when I was a teenager. And
that's so funny.
Yeah, you can just, that smell, there's nothing like it.
I know. Well, also if I crack open a book I've had or read previously, it takes me back to meals I've had because I usually spill food all over. I'm always eating when I'm reading, or always doing two things at once. And there's that spinach
splatter,
or that.
Yeah, the spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, so I can remember the meal I had when I was on page 47 or whatever.
Yeah, you have to be careful when you're eating like pasta, like tomato sauce. It will splatter onto everything.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So yeah,
no one would want to borrow my books because they're kind of gross.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Gosh.
Yeah, so.
Well, let's.
Still.
Oh, another thing I forgot to say was that according to Wikipedia, dysphoria is the opposite of euphoria. I mean, dysphoria is a word that people haven't really used until recently, mostly in relation to gender dysphoria, right? I just thought I'd use it today. What the heck? I liked it as an idea, as an opposite to euphoria. Something like, what did Wikipedia say? It said, I said it meant you were unblissed out, but Wikipedia said it meant, let's see, where is it? I don't know. My notes are really disorganized. Speaking of disorganized. Oh, a profound state of unease or dissatisfaction, dysphoria.
Yeah.
But productivity, on the other hand, I thought we could talk about productivity because I've been feeling super productive lately.
Wow, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you're knocking all the stuff off your list that's been hanging around. The things that hang around are like, it's like somebody standing in the corner just staring at you day after day after day, just standing there with kind of a menacing look. But
sounds a little paranoid there.
I know.
Who's that in the corner looking at me?
I think it's me. Yeah. It's me looking at me, as always.
Well, we got to keep ourselves accountable, to be productive. I love doing a to-do list, and then the first thing you put on it is make a to-do list.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you've already achieved something. So,
wow. Never thought of it that way.
You just don't want to stop there.
Well, you're saying you can put that on as number one and then immediately cross it off.
Well, yeah.
Right?
So
you've already
you start from a position of strength with getting stuff done or being productive.
God, I like that. Yeah. I really like that. Well, I made a little list of the things that I had knocked off my list.
Oh, let's hear.
Okay, first one, I'm taking my Subaru into the dealer for the recall repair on the airbag. They sent me the notice like 2 years ago.
Wait, is it the driver's side, the passenger?
It's the passenger side.
Oh, so you weren't as motivated.
No, I wasn't. Maybe you're right. I wasn't as motivated. And I called thinking they were going to shame me, but they just acted very matter of fact about it. So I must not be the only one.
Oh, yeah. You Subaru drivers, you don't care about your passengers.
Well,
it's because Subarus are like these tanks. So, it's not quite as impetus as I'm a Prius driver. And, maybe I would take it in a little sooner just to
Yeah, you're right. You think the Subaru can sort of put up with a lot.
Oh, my God. They're indestructible, supposedly.
Yeah, except for that check engine light that doesn't ever go off.
Oh, my God. You're not kidding.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be listed as one of the Subaru's features because my daughter drives a Subaru, and granted we got it used for it, but guess what? Check engine light, they cannot get it off no matter what.
And that's going to start to be a real issue in Vermont with this new system of, your car having to really pass inspection.
Yeah, that's where, because there's nothing wrong with that engine, but except for the check. I was thinking of putting masking tape over it.
Oh, that's really going to work.
And no one will see it.
That's where the rubber hits the road for sure.
I can't think about that, because it won't pass inspection without that.
I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject because I'm in the same boat.
Car repairs is always a sore subject.
Yeah, no.
Well, good for you. You got your Subaru and you got your appointment.
I got my appointment. Number 2. I took my shovels to Welch's Hardware to get them sharpened.
Whoa.
And that's also something that I've been meaning to do for about 3 years.
Nice.
And they did a beautiful job.
Oh.
Those guys, they're so nice.
Shout out to Welch's Hardware.
Shout out to Welch's Hardware. And they got it done super fast because they knew that gardening season was starting and that I was going to need my shovels. You know, shovels, my basic tool.
Ace shovel sharpeners.
Yes, they are Ace. Oh, it's a True Value Hardware. It's not an Ace Hardware, right?
I don't know.
But they're Ace shovel sharpeners at True Value Hardware. Boy,
that isn't easy to say.
No. Okay, so let's see. What else did I do? I pruned the grapevine off my crabapple tree.
Wow.
That's also, I think I've had like this three years of just everything kind of piling up.
Well, that's major progress.
Yeah.
You'll never see those 3 things on my to-do list, I'll tell you.
No, you mentioned, gardening wasn't your thing.
No, looking at I so appreciate gardens, and, my boyfriend's a gardener and you're a gardener, but I just, milk off of all your talents.
That's cool.
So
that's cool.
My shovel is very dull.
I'll read your books.
Yeah. Write a book. That's on my to-do list.
Yeah. And I did want to just confess to you that I still can't spell the word occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
What is it with that?
Well,
You'd think you write that word so much that you could remember if it was 2 C's or 2 S's, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word ass on the radio, but that's how I remember it, is you don't want the word ass in occasionally. So it keeps me, like every time I put the second S in, I'm like, oh, no.
That's fine because it's a donkey, so it's fine. We've discussed this at length here on the show.
These are the things that help me to remember how to spell a word that you should always know how to spell.
Okay.
That and spell check.
That was a good practical tip for our listeners today.
Yeah, I like to help out writers.
Yeah, we'd like to leave everybody with something that they can actually apply to their week in a practical sense. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, you have any questions for me?
I do. Well, I know that, well, first I want to know where the name 11th Hour Radio came from, because I love the name of that.
Oh, there's not going to be a fantastic story because it was named by somebody else who started the show and then gave us the show. So that was that.
Oh, but why did it resonate?
Well, to us it resonated. I mean, why did we keep it would be the question, is because we're always doing things last minute and we are our creative process is haphazard, so I think it seemed to apply to us.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's so much energy and spontaneity, though, and to some degree, as you well know, I mean, you're the one who does this show, but in waiting and not overthinking. And in fact, I think writers get in their way when they overthink too much in those early drafts, and you miss those epiphanies or, insights that just happen. And before you can even acknowledge them, you censor them or shut them down. And so if you're in the 11th hour, you don't have time. So
that's so true. That is so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually speaks to something that I don't want to go off the subject of you asking me a question, but I did want to get to this idea of that there's a difference between creation and performance.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't really like performing, but if performing can be a creative act of spontaneity, I find it much easier to do. And I think I could not do a show like a public affairs show where I had to be sort of thinking straight. I have to be able to think sideways to do this show. So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to understand those distinctions because the act of creating the creative process absolutely has to embrace that willingness to just go here or go there, and then at some point you impose a structure so that the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. And I think the performance aspect, though, has to still, while it needs to be somewhat restricted by you're prepared and you're ready and there's a structure so that you're not wandering all over the place, there has to be this willingness to have an interactivity or a connection with the audience that allows you to have some wiggle room in there. I was just reading about how to give a good TED Talk because I'm normally a pretty nervous public speaker and lately I've been having to give a lot of talks. And so they are all about, and I agree with them, write that thing down, practice, memorize it front and back so that when you get into the performance mode, you're comfortable enough to add and embrace some spontaneity or to go a little bit here and there without losing the form or the structure of the piece. So it's this marriage of being overly prepared, but also so prepared that you can feel comfortable just being yourself at the very same time. It's a real art.
Yeah, those are the best performances really are where you just feel like the person is so natural.
Yeah.
But it's not really, it's the product of a lot of time spent practicing.
Well, that's why I was so reassured when I read this book, because I always watch these things and, my heart starts beating already, like, oh my God, I could never do that. But the way they emphasize how practiced those are to achieve that beautiful fluency or naturalness or organic relationship with the audience. And I had such comfort in that. So no longer do I feel like such an idiot when I'm standing in front of the mirror, like reading my little script, and then rereading it until I get a little more comfortable. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that preparedness, so that when you do perform, you're really there. Not like, all right, what am I going to say next?
Not in your head.
Yeah, in your head, or overcome by anxiety, which is a big issue with me in performing. And so the more I practice, the more, to some degree, free I am from anxiety, which means I can be there more and have more fun.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people who actually get on a stage in some way do suffer from anxiety.
Oh, gosh.
But they have to learn to manage it, basically.
And practice.
Overcome it, yeah.
Practice is really, if it works for me, which, to some degree it does, it would work for anyone. Because, I was one of those people, to some degree, that gets up there and like, ugh. Yeah. But if I'm ready, then I can really focus on what I have to say and know that it's shaped in a way that I'm not going to be all of a sudden over here or over there, and yet still have that wiggle room. It's a neat art form.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
cool.
I love that concept, though, about performance and how it's a whole different animal than, the creative process. And
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I keep looking behind me because now we're getting close to the end of the show, so I have to just not space out and forget that the show has to end.
Too bad.
Yeah, I know. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
And I should say that you've been listening to 11th Hour Radio on WFVR 96.5, coming to you from South Royalton, Vermont. And I've had my guest here today has been Joni. Joni has a last name, but Cole, I guess that's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been super fun to talk to you.
Thank you. Same here.
We have 3 minutes, and I do have a song that's 4 minutes long, and that's the way usually this works. I get to the end, and the song is longer than the amount of time, and so we just kind of fade it out at 12 o'clock. But this is a podcast, and so anybody who wants to hear this later can go find it. You can find it on iTunes even. So I think we're going to sign off. Is there any final words for us from you?
No, except for, finally sunshine. So enjoy the day and sharpen your shovel.
That's it. Today, we're going to say sharpen your shovel. Thanks, Joni.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Whoops. I lost our last track of music there, but I'll get back to it. See you next week.
Western sun softly fades, beepers sing their serenade. A flock of geese are flying overhead, loons are nesting in their beds. I'm hoping I might find a sign that'll lead me there to Judevine. I've been outside fighting this cold. This is spring, or so I'm told. I am chilled down to the bone. I need the warmth of a hearth and home. Tell me how long till I find my way. Judevine. starry night, led me here to a brand new life. Their swamp soothes my wandering soul, put down roots for growing old. Down the hollow and open sky